Welcome to memoQ Talks, where we talk to industry leaders about their experiences, lessons learned, and what works best across all areas of localization. Now here's your host.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to memoQ Talks. My name is Mark Schreiner, and I'll be your host for this episode of memoQ Talks. Today, we're going to be talking with Dominika Olszewska, who is my colleague and is also the head of memoQ's CEE and Nordics hub. CEE would be Central and Eastern Europe. And we're going to be talking with Dominika about digital wellness and productivity. So before we get started, though, let's say hi to Dominika. Dominika, how are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you. How are you?
Awesome. Good. I'm just getting going here. And as I mentioned prior to hitting the record button, I've been forced out onto our front deck because my family is just getting going in the morning. I work next to the kitchen and you don't want to hear all that stuff going on right now.
Yeah,
so.
That's why I moved to another room as well. I don't normally work here. It's my partner's room. So yeah, but hopefully we won't get disturbed today.
Hopefully. But that's why the great thing with digital is we can just edit out. So it'll all work. Hey, I got to ask you, I do training myself. And I like to participate or attend other trainers' workshops. Mm-hmm. One, because the content could be interesting, but two, I like to see how people do or conduct training because I think you can always learn things. And I got to say, I recently attended your workshop that you provided for some of our colleagues at memoQ on digital wellness. And I enjoyed both the content. It got me super motivated and the way that you kind of conducted the workshop. So I first off, hats off to you for that. That was an awesome job. And that led me to kind of want to talk to you about digital wellness. But maybe before we go too far down the tracks, can you tell us what is digital wellness and how does it relate to productivity?
So digital well-being, at least for me, is, finding a balanced way to live your life to the fullest. And it's very, convoluted, but basically it's finding balance in how you use technology to help you achieve your goals and live a happier and more productive life. So by using technology, I mean how we relate to our phone, how we use our work devices, such as laptop or a computer, how we use social media, how we use our email, but also how we use our wearables, right? Because wearables have become such a big part of our lives. And all this technology can be either detrimental or helpful in achieving our goals. So that's what digital is about.
The sales guy at the store told me that all those devices are going to help me be much more productive. So what's the problem?
The problem is that we are put in a certain mold, and all of us are different and we work in a different way. We get motivated in a different way. We have different biological prime time. We have different needs, different values, and basically all the productivity apps, all the wearables, they tell us how we should be productive or how we should do things in a certain way. And this makes us disconnected from ourselves and from our real needs. And when we are not really ourselves, we can't really be productive, but we also can't be really happy. And in the long term, this can lead to being demotivated and even burnt out.
So can you give a couple specific examples of where, for example, our phone or maybe social media can be helpful and then where it can really be a hindrance on productivity?
Sure. So I've read some research that social media can be helpful when we actually use it to connect with other people and connect with other groups. So when it gives us like tangible results by creating community and having a platform to discuss ideas, share ideas, and so on. But when we use it passively, only scrolling, only liking, only judging, this actually leads to, dopamine, over-dopaminization of our brains, but also leads us to being extremely miserable because actually while our brains are really lazy, they, in the long term, when we have something to do, our brains are more happy.
Sure. So, like for example, if I'm in a mountain biking group on Facebook, actually, now that I think about it, I'm in a couple of different cycling groups, and it's a way for us to kind of plan activities, and we post pictures and talk about different rides and share information, etc. So that would be something that is productive, right? That's
Yes.
helping me. But if I'm sitting and just looking at all the beautiful people on Instagram for hours, it's probably not the best way.
Exactly.
Exactly, and it takes away your time from doing other more meaningful things. You recommended a couple books during your workshop, and one of them was the Productivity Project by Chris Bailey.
Yeah.
I'm about halfway through it. I'm feeling much more productive. It's awesome, actually. It's a lot of it's like reminders of stuff that we kind of know, but it's kind of nice when you hear somebody who spent like a whole year just researching like every possible way to be more productive and trying all these different A/B tests and stuff to say, you know what you're feeling is real, and here's the science behind it. One of the things that he talks about is the difference between activity versus productivity.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in general, I really like his approach to productivity, because I feel like now we are subjects to this very toxic culture of overachievers doing all the stuff and ticking off the points on our to-do lists. And actually, what I really like about Chris Bailey is that he defines productivity as something that moves us forward to achieving goals that are based on our values. And I think this is so important, because on a daily basis, we have so many unimportant tasks that are considered work, or that we consider super necessary to tick off, but actually they are not bringing us towards our goals. And this is, I think that's one of the first books on productivity that is not only, or actually it's nothing about the productivity hacks, but it's actually about connecting to your real values. And for example, the experiment on getting up at 5:30 in the morning, he was miserable doing that. He hated that, and he wasn't more productive. But everyone says, oh, you should get up in the morning and you will be so productive. No, it's again about finding the way that works for you. And yeah,
Absolutely.
activity, that's exactly what how I see that. I work in sales, and I know that a lot of my job is a big part of my job is actually replying to emails, having calls, and so on. But this can be very reactive, and in the long term it's not very sustainable, because one, I cannot find time to be really creative, to really give something a thought. And it's tiring, and it can lead to burnout if you are only reacting and performing activities and not really being productive in this bigger sense.
So are you saying responding to email is not productive?
It is, but sometimes it can be not effective, right? Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to jump in on a call, and when you are in this back and forth, just pause and think, maybe this could be a call. But on the other hand, many calls could have been emails. So it's again about the judgment.
Well, it's interesting because I've caught myself doing this many times where I'm like, I spent all morning answering emails. I'm really productive. Actually, no. I kind of feel like you said, I didn't really make progress to some of my more meaningful or more, I guess, higher priority tasks. And one of the things that he talks about in the book, and I think you touched on the workshop as well, is that oftentimes those bigger, more important tasks, we sometimes want to procrastinate because we're a little bit intimidated by them.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is maybe we'll look at social media. But that's, we catch ourselves when we're like, you know what, okay, I got to put Facebook away or Insta away, whatever. But I'll do email or I'll go into a meeting. And that's not necessarily either. That's just another way of procrastinating. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then maybe some best practices for handling email?
Sure. So again, it's all very personal, and obviously if you work in sales or in customer support, you can't really afford, like, you cannot afford not responding right immediately, but you can manage the expectations, right? So you can even set an autoresponder in the morning for the first 2 hours. I will respond to your emails at 10 a.m. or something like that. I think that could be one of the good ways. Obviously, time blocking in the calendar. So set deep focus or deep work or just focus time slots. That sends a clear message to both your colleagues, but also your customers that can, book the calls in your calendar. That sends a clear message that you are not available then. So definitely that. Also, when you are trying to actually have a productive deep work session, it's good to turn off all the distractors. So it's, as you said, not only Insta, not only LinkedIn, but email as well. So there was a study saying that if we have an unanswered email in the mailbox, it decreases our IQ by 10 points. Temporarily, of course.
I don't have that many points to lose, man.
So that's it's even
That's important.
going completely offline can be really helpful. But
Well,
yeah.
I was going to say, I liked during your workshop that you were insistent that everybody put away their phones. I think you had us put them into a different room, which is great, because if it's on the table, it's just so tempting. And even that temptation is a distraction, right? I have to battle that. I have to fight with that. Put it in the other room. I want to focus. I'm going to give you my 100% undivided attention for this next time. And I think, I mean, I don't know when it started. I guess it started when email, first becoming widely used. But I just remember going in, because I've been doing sales my whole life, going in and doing a presentation. And I saw like 10 people looking at their computer and then glancing up at my presentation. And it was the first time that happened. I mean, I can still recall exactly when and where that happened. I was blown away. And at one point, because I'd never been there before, I said, you know what? This next 5 minutes is going to be really important. Could I ask that everybody just close your laptops, please? And they closed it for more than 5 minutes. We went on and had like another 20, 30-minute conversation, but it was amazing. And we're so used to that these days. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on meetings, for example, both in terms of duration, but how do you get people to focus?
Yeah, that's pretty hard. So it's easier to achieve when you're leading a workshop like I did 2 weeks ago. It's because, it's a different mindset. People come there for a reason, they are intrigued, and there are all sorts of those exercises. So to get your blood flow going, to find yourself in a different mindset. But with regular business meetings, we usually feel it's a waste of time doing small talk. It's a waste of time, agreeing on the agenda. It's a waste of time setting some ground rules. And I think it's a shame, because if we were more mindful about how we take meetings, everyone would be happier, less frustrated, and more productive. So I would say having a clear agenda, sticking to the time. So having those buffers, at least 5 minutes between meetings. This is also super important. Moving in between the meetings. So actually you can do some jumping jacks, or go out to the balcony or to the garden, to really freshen up. And yes, so this was about the how to, but there was a second part of the question, right? About the meetings.
Oh, well, but yeah, just, best practices in terms of yes.
So basically, I feel multitasking has been so glamorized recently that sometimes I feel bad not doing emails during a company meeting, for example, because I can see so many people doing emails. And, it's great that they have so much to do. But on the other hand, it's once a month that we meet for a company meeting. So we can really be there and dive into what others are saying. And, it's not to blame anybody, because it's normal. We get distracted, and we get certain satisfaction from answering emails, right? Because it's again going to those to-do lists and ticking out the activities. But when we are But actually, there was a research where people were put sitting together in front of each other at the table and talking. And while the phone was on the table, people reported being far less satisfied and far less listened to, compared to the situation where the phones were hidden in the pockets or in the bags. But the best level of communication and satisfaction was actually when the phones were in the other room. So it only shows that phones and our email boxes and so on are so tempting, and our focus is so drawn to them, that we are actually missing out on real relationships, and this is a shame. So I would say that being more mindful about that could be very beneficial.
100% agree with you. And in fact, when I was growing up, it wasn't phones, it was televisions. And even if a television was in the room, or there was a screen or a monitor, even if it wasn't on, people look at it. They're checking it. It's a distraction, and it's terrible. I One of the things that I like to do is when I'm eating, for example, or when I'm going for a walk, I don't look at my phone. I hate that I could have a meal, and I've done it countless times, and not actually remember what I was eating because I was so into my stupid phone. What are your thoughts in terms of, just, really being in the moment, and how do you manage that with, let's just stay on the phone there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good question, because obviously, although I know all those things, there are days that it's harder to stay focused, that because my energy is low, because my mood is not great, and I tend to turn to those distractors every now and then, like every person. And that's important to realize, that we are not going to be perfect, right? And we are not meant to be perfect. But I would say that on my, good days, I don't even remember about my phone. So what I really am interested in is the concept of flow. It was coined by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, so a psychologist from
I
America.
can never pronounce his name, but thank you for
Yeah,
doing
I
it.
was trying hard, and probably our Hungarian colleagues would still, tell me
No,
I was wrong.
it's a great concept too, and I think, I mean, I'll let you describe it, but if you've ever experienced it, which I'm sure we all have in some arena or another, it's awesome. But go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
it's awesome, and I think that the first time I really, well, there were many times probably that, but the first time that I really experienced it mindfully, knowing what I'm experiencing, is when I started sewing on a machine, and I realized, oh my god, 8 hours have passed, and I'm still sitting here, and I don't know where the time has gone. But I
You
felt
were
so relaxed.
flowing, you were
Yes,
flowing and sewing. Sorry.
exactly. Exactly, that's my motto now. So yeah, and then I realized, okay, I want more moments like that in my life. And then I started experimenting with the time without the phone, and I have a strict no phone policy in my bedroom. I leave the phone in the other room. I don't check my phone when I read books. I try to make it clear to my brain that it's not the phone time. When I
It
really have
drives
something.
me
Yeah.
nuts. I have three boys, and I give them books, or we exchange recommendations, and they will read, and then like every other page they're checking their phone. I'm like, you gotta focus, man.
Yeah, and that's probably something that prevents them from reading more, because then reading seems like this very hard thing to do, when compared to something very easy and easy distraction. So yeah, but it also took me time to get back to reading seriously. At first
Hmm.
it was hard, and I set the timer for myself at 15 minutes before going to bed, and then my brain just got used to it, and now it cannot fall asleep without reading.
I will actually want to come to back to that point about
Yeah.
bedtime rituals in a second. One of the things that I used to do when I would read would something would, that somebody's name or some concept would come up, and then I would want to just kind of go online and go down that rabbit hole. But then it would interrupt the flow of reading the book. So what I do now is I just take notes in the back. And then when I'm done reading, when I have my next free, block of time, then I'll do the research on those things. And for me, it works a lot more effectively than back and forth. But it allows me to go deeper in those areas. So that's kind of cool.
That's a great
In
idea.
terms of, one of the things for, for well-being, and wellness and productivity is getting a good night's sleep. Okay. So what can you tell us about how we can prepare and make sure that we get the right amount and the right quality of sleep?
I wish I knew. I wish there was this one size fit all method. Again, it's all very individual. What worked for me is definitely disconnecting a couple of hours before going to bed. It's not always feasible, not always possible, sure, but at least already not scrolling in bed is already better. Because it's not only about the blue light, right? Like disrupting our melatonin release cycle, but it's also about all the emotions that scrolling causes. So definitely disconnecting. If you cannot disconnect using the yellow light mode on your phone or a computer, you can use the flax add-on to make it more yellow instead of blue. But also having a clear ritual. I would say that having this ritual of not having a phone in my bedroom has worked really well. Reading before bed, but this can also be, whatever, meditating, some kind of mindfulness activity, yoga, or even sitting down with your family or friends and chatting. It's all about having a ritual. But what also was a game changer for me, because I'm usually quite an anxious sleeper, and I used to wake up a lot during the night. And I thought, oh, I'm so good with my bedtime rituals, and I was doing a mindfulness course, and I didn't understand why am I still not sleeping well, and I gave up coffee. And it was a very hard experience. It was horrible. I felt as if I was giving up cocaine, not coffee, although I don't know how giving up cocaine, feels like.
How
But
would you
I
know what it's like
imagine
to give up cocaine, Dominika?
that I have no idea, but it felt like it. That's
Okay.
my imagination working. And but then I realized, wow, I sleep through the night.
So when you say you give up coffee, like you don't drink even in the morning?
No.
So that's amazing. Oh my gosh.
I drink mostly decaf for the ritual, for the smell, for the
Yeah.
taste, and I found one that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
I drink coffee rarely, like, I don't know, once a week or once in 2 weeks, and it has a great effect on me. It really helps me stay focused and be more energized and productive. But only if I do this occasionally. But definitely, it has helped me with having a healthy sleeping pattern.
That's awesome. I have my own battles with coffee. Yeah. And the thing is because of where I'm located, I get up and do early morning calls because you Europeans are
Oh
only
yeah.
7 hours ahead. And, this morning, my first call was at 6 a.m. my time, but I have some that are 4 or 5 a.m. And a little bit of coffee helps. What I found is I have my sweet spot, and I'll either drink like 2 cups of decaf or just 1 cup of regular. And sometimes I even dilute it with hot water. I know that's sacrilegious, but if I over caffeinate, it actually hinders my productivity. For me, yeah. I get too easily distracted and want to jump around too much. And it's like, and I want to come to this in a second, the importance of focus. But if you really want to do quality work, you got to focus. But if you're too amped up and just, oh, look, there's a squirrel. It's hard to get stuff done. Yeah. Right. And so my other kind of rule with coffee is never past noon. It's like gremlins, don't feed them past midnight. Just don't give me coffee past noon, because I do have problems sleeping, and it's the most miserable thing in the world when you can't get a good night's sleep. So let me ask you, because I think this goes back to flow a bit. I think that if you're going to do really good quality work, focus is hugely important. Okay.
Mm.
And some of the things you can help your focus, as you said, are, putting your phone in another room, things like that. What are some other things that you can do? Like if you've got a high priority task, in terms of where you do it, how you schedule it, your own, I forget what it's called, your peak bio time. So you're going to know the right term. I mean, kind of walk us through that. Like, how would you set all that up?
Hmm. Um, I would say that in customer facing roles, or when we work in global companies with different time zones, like we both do, it's a luxury to schedule your focused time exactly in your biological prime time, as Chris Bailey calls it.
Thank you.
Um,
Your BPT.
yeah, but actually, if you know that you have better, it's easier for you to focus in the morning. It's a wise thing to do to schedule the focus time in the morning. For example, I realized that with so much going on, I can better focus in the evening. And although I've always said, "Oh, I hate working in the evening," I realized that without the distractions, without colleagues, writing, clients, pinging, and so on, sometimes when I have something more important, more, something that demands focus, I prefer to do this in the evening. So it's also okay. It's about, really understanding yourself and not acting against you. Um, but again, some rituals can help. So for me, I take the phone out to the other room. I put on headphones and I have a favorite Mozart music that I put on, and immediately it sets me in the more focused mindset. No notifications on the computer when I do that, and it helps. And also the famous Pomodoro technique. It helps for me. I don't do this religiously throughout the whole process, but it definitely helps me start. So the first 25 minutes, where I usually ease into the deep work, can be hard, and it's the time where we can get easily distracted. So the first Pomodoro, first 25 minutes, makes a difference. And once it's done, you already feel great about yourself. Oh, 25 minutes done, and then you can continue. So.
I think that's some great advice, and apologies. My neighbor just decided they're going to mow their lawn, so I don't know how I'm going to try to edit this out. But I think what I can do is just go on mute and let you keep talking. I do like the fact that you pointed out that it's kind of a luxury to be able to perfectly schedule our time in the world we live in. Because I was feeling a little bit guilty because I'm like, God, I'm a slacker. I haven't been able to dial it in, but there's always these exceptions, and especially when you throw in friends and family and things like that as well. The Pomodoro thing is I got to do that more, but it's just kind of like this little mental sprint period that you have, and you can get a lot of work done. Let me ask you this, just a couple more questions. 3 pieces of advice for anybody out there that just wants to be a little bit more productive or feel a little bit just more at ease or achieve a little higher degree of digital well-being.
Mm. Tough question. But first thing that comes to my mind is don't check your phone in the morning. So there are theories saying that our attention is finite, right? And that there's only a certain amount of attention that we can devote to something. And if you decide to devote your attention to social media, checking messages, checking emails in the morning, most likely you won't have this much energy or attention to spare in the afternoon or when you want to work on something more important. And again, there is something called decision fatigue. And we don't realize that actually deciding about picking up our phone, opening email, replying to messages, this already calls for making so many decisions that by the afternoon, we already are like, whatever, I will order pizza instead of cooking a meal, right? And this influences our not only how we work but how we live in general. So avoiding a phone for an hour in the morning has worked well. Another thing is having like a, honest one-to-one with yourself, and from time to time, or maybe on a regular basis, or once a week, once a month, once a year, to evaluate your goals and your values, and really think if the work you're doing is what you would like to do, or how you spend your free time. Is it how you really want to spend your time? And then try to think how your day reflects those goals. If you are really doing things that bring you closer, this already, this is something coming from coaching. And for some people, like a lot of people don't believe in coaching because they think it's some motivational and stuff, but actually it's so important, because as we talked in the beginning, we tend to live our lives as we think we should live them, but once we really connect to ourselves, it can make things easier. So definitely that. And the third part is I would say the getting good night's sleep, but also I will risk another option. So that it's either 3A or 3B. Another option is doing a digital detox. And this is something that people fear. And I'm not a fan of digital detox in the long run. So I also have Cal Newport's book, Digital Minimalism, in the back, but I don't think he's particularly, fun. Chris Bailey is so much more fun in his approach to productivity in life. But doing a detox really helps you realize how your life could look like without all the distractions, and also helps you realize what is really important and what is it that you really need to use. So for me, it turned out that Instagram and Facebook are not really helping me achieve any of my goals, are not valuable. I stay in touch with my friends in different ways, but I realized that LinkedIn is a social medium, sure, but it's helpful and it's like giving value to my life. So, deciding what really, really works for you is a good start and an interesting experiment. It's going to be hard in the beginning with all the FOMO, but yeah, I would recommend doing that.
That's some awesome advice, and I don't even know where to respond to the because you gave a lot of really helpful information there. There are studies that show that our willpower, our decision making process is limited. There's a finite, and the more you use earlier in the day, as you get tired, it gets harder. I read a book, Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've ever read it, but a great book.
I haven't yet. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things he says is like, don't make it hard on yourself. If you don't want to eat sugary food, then don't leave sugary food out on the counter, hide it away.
Yeah.
If you don't want to watch TV, then put the remote someplace where it's like a little bit of work to get it. But if you make things super accessible, you're just going to grab them. And likewise, instead of putting sugary stuff out, if you want to eat more healthy, chop up some veggies and stuff and put them out. Just, don't make it hard on yourself to make those decisions. Really super important.
Yeah, I love this. I love this advice.
And it works for me. I mean, the other day, I don't buy a lot of candy, but I bought some candy, and I had a couple M&Ms. I had a couple pieces, and I said to my wife, "Just take this away. If I don't see it, I'm not going to want it." Right? But it's like, so I outsourced my willpower to her. The other thing is like the digital detox. I mean, I would like to read something on how to do that more effectively. But one of the things that I don't know if you've there's an author, Yuval Noah Harari. He wrote the book *Sapiens*. He every year he does once or two times a year. He'll do a 10-day no talk meditation retreat. And I mean, I just don't have 10 days, but I would love to do that sometime, just to where you just get rid of all the distractions. And it really, he says it helps him just, his ability to focus just is like a laser beam after that, So that'd be pretty cool. Let me ask you this, because I mean, I could tell that you enjoy the subject and the topic. You also enjoy, I feel like, coaching and training. You did achieve a certificate in digital wellness. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that, and and any of the workshops you're planning in the future, or things that you would, that you'd like to be doing in the future.
Sure. So
If you
I've
don't mind a
completed
personal
this.
question.
No, of course. So I've completed a 7-month course on digital well-being coaching. And it was organized by an institute called Consciously Digital. It was set up by Dr. Anastasia Dedukina. She's one of the influencers in the area of digital well-being, digital wellness, both in personal lives and workplace. And the course, this has been, and like, this was a very emotional and very inspiring journey, not only on the intellectual level but also on a personal level, because we were learning about how our brains work, how we respond to novelty, how easily we get distracted. We learned about our attention, about focus, about boredom, and this was all so fascinating. But we were also inspired to try it out on ourselves, and this has changed completely my approach to life, to relationships, to work, and also to free time. This has been the biggest game changer. And on top of all the theoretical knowledge, which was the most recent research, academic research, it was a really intense course on coaching, how to coach people to help them with achieving goals that bring them closer to realizing their values. Of course, it's not that easy. People usually won't come to you saying, I want to use less Facebook. It's not about using less Facebook, right? It's about achieving certain goals and living a certain life. So digital well-being coaching is just a part of a bigger picture. And I'd like to focus on creating or on leading workshops and trainings for companies, remote or hybrid companies like memoQ. I feel that a lot can be done to improve the well-being and productivity of remote/hybrid workers. But I'm also coaching individuals. Whoever wants to explore more in this area is very welcome to do that.
Well, it sounds like an amazing program, and I'm sure it was, because I participated in your workshop and you did an awesome job. You got me motivated, and I've got the first book in my reading list, but I've got many more now because I think it's really important. And back to your point that you made, that some people, they have mixed emotions or feelings about coaching. I mean, maybe it's just the word that we call it, or I don't know, but I think everybody can use kind of some objective feedback, or and also some advice or guidance, and it's kind of impossible to go out there and learn everything all on our own. I mean, you've got a guy like Chris Bailey who did nothing but just focus on productivity for like over a year. And, and some of the experiments he did were just crazy. I just don't have the time or luxury to do that, but I can learn from other people. I can leverage their experience. Like I'm leveraging, your teachings and what you learned in your program. So, hey, Dominika, I got to say, it was awesome talking with you. Like I said, you've got me even more motivated, and I wish you the best, and I look forward to your next workshop. And thank you so much for being on memoQ Talks.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your amazing feedback. You got me motivated as well. So
thank you for joining memoQ Talks, where we talked with industry leaders about their experiences and lessons learned to gain new insights about what works best across all areas of localization. Join us next time on memoQ Talks.